Welcome to the Clarity Challenge and welcome to part 2 of our conversation on partner weakness management. We're dealing with partner weaknesses, and then progressively we got to the point where we said it is so important that we are able to compartmentalize the behaviors of our partners so that we are able to define whether or not what they're dealing with or what they're exhibiting is a mistake, or whether it is a weakness, or whether it is a wrongdoing. This compartmentalization or categorization or recognition is so profound because it will define how these behaviors, how we respond to them, or how we manage them, or how we deal with them. They're so important. The reasons are simple. If it is a mistake, you cannot treat it, respond to it, handle it like it is a weakness. And if it is a weakness, then you can't deal with it like it's a wrongdoing. No, you can't do that. The way you respond to your partner's behavior should be defined by what that behavior is, what that thing they're exhibiting. You have to understand what it is, otherwise you will misfire. You have to understand what it is, otherwise you handle it wrongly. And once you handle it wrongly, you're going to mess things up. Somebody cannot be exhibiting a weakness and you are responding to them like they made a mistake. No, you can't do that, because mistakes can be corrected. But you can't do the same of a weakness. No, you can't do the same of a weakness. You can't arrest somebody for a weakness like you will arrest somebody for wrongdoing. So our ability to really take the time to identify, to recognize the law of recognition, what it is that our partners are manifesting, is so indispensably critical to have been able to forge ahead with the relationship. It doesn't matter whether you're already in a marriage or whether you're just dating. You have to do proper partner weakness identification to be able to decide the most appropriate way to relate with, to respond to provide care and help for your partner. So today we are focusing, while the entire body of this discussion, this conversation borders on partner weakness management, we cannot go into partner weakness management until first of all there is a partner weakness recognition or identification. And so today we are focusing on partner weakness identification. It's so important. Now, Karen Horney made a statement, and I would like to quote him. He said, neurotic girls cannot love a weak man because of their contempt for any weaknesses. Neurotic girls cannot love a weak man because of their contempt for any weaknesses. Neither can they cope with a strong man because they expect their partner to always give in. So they have a weak person, they can't handle that. They have a contempt for weaknesses. They find a strong person, they can handle that. They have a contempt. They want their partner to always give in to their whims and caprices. Now that's our general disposition to weaknesses. But the problem or the truth about weaknesses is that all mortals make mistakes, and all mortals have a weakness. So even them neurotic girls also are embodiments of incredible weaknesses. As a matter of fact, the fact that they cannot love a weak man means that they are themselves embodiments of weaknesses. If you cannot love a weak person, you are weak, you are not strong. In the same vein, if you also cannot cope with a strong person, your weakness is monumental, is grand. Everybody has a weakness. What I can put together is why we behave like saints at the face of somebody else's weakness, whereas we're using a whole lot of things to cover our own weaknesses. It is the reason why I have said that whenever you amplify other people's weaknesses, it is a sign of weakness. Amplifying other people's weaknesses is in itself a sign of weakness. But the only proof that you are strong is that you are able to stand in for your partner's weakness. That's the proof of strength. It is the reason why I have always said that if your strength exposes my weakness, that is no strength. That is weakness in its grandest scale. If your strength is an expert in exposing other people's weakness, it shows how terribly weak you are. What strength does, the characteristics of strength, is that it has the capacity to make for, to cover up for, to help, to stand in, to take the place instead of other people's weakness. That's the proof of strength. No wonder the Bible says concerning God, God said, "For my strength is made perfect in your weakness." Your strength, if you have any, is only proven when it is face to face with other people's weaknesses. Your strength, the proof of your strength, is revealed in other people's weaknesses. It becomes perfect. Your strength becomes complete. Your strength is able to express itself, fulfill its ministry and purpose by the role that it is able to play at the face of your partner's weakness. This is so profound. This must get into our subconscious, and it will change the narrative about how we relate with our partners. Listen, when your partner's weakness is identified, what you do is to position yourself strategically to cover and protect your partner in the area of their weakness. How? By always standing in, by always presenting yourself. When you do this, what that does is that your own strength is like putting gold in fire. The beauty of your strength becomes revealed, becomes manifest, and your weak partner is better and stronger for it. This is profound. It is the reason why when your partner does not cover the weakness of, when your strength does not cover the weakness of your partner, then that strength is uselessly useless. Therefore, fighting a partner's obvious weakness in itself is counterproductive. If it is obvious, if it is evident, if it is proven that your partner is weak in a given area, and all you do is amplify it, is shout it on the mountains, is to let everybody know that they're weak, they're incapable, that they're irrelevant. I'll never forget the story I was told. I was sharing in a men's conference in London, and then this other speaker shared a story, and it was terrible. He said that this couple were engaged in some kind of altercations, and then just having some mild conversation, kind of, not even an altercation. I said, wow. And this lady said to her husband, "We've been married for 27 years. And the only thing that is in this house, because of you, because I've been married to you, the only thing in this house because of you is this refrigerator. The only thing." Wow. That reduced the man to nothing. That derobed the man. It messed him up. For 3 weeks, he was shocked to his feet. He asked her, he said, you mean you said that to me? 1 week later, standing where he was, he asked her again, "You mean you said that to me?" 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, he couldn't get himself out of the shock. He couldn't believe that 27 years after, this was what somebody he has spent his life with was thinking about. He kept asking, "You mean you said that to me?" If your strength, you are financially stronger, only reveals the weakness of your partner, I don't know what to say to you. I just don't know what to say to you. What came to my mind is not good. So I just leave it at that. This is so profound. So we want to take our time now in this session to look at what a weakness is. Then we look at what a mistake is. Then we look at what a wrongdoing is. That way we'll be able to ask ourselves and then answer the question, what my partner is exhibiting, is it a weakness? So now let's start with a mistake. What is a mistake? A mistake is an error in judgment that leads to an error in action. All of the times, a mistake is an error in judgment that results in an error in action. This is so profound. It is the reason why I said you cannot treat a weakness like you're treating a mistake. The beauty about a mistake is that it is not intentional usually. It is not intentional. So you were standing there, I didn't see you, I didn't know you were standing there when I poured out a cup of water and it splashed on you. And you screamed and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were standing there. It's not intentional. It's a mistake. It's an error in judgment. It led to an error in action. I'm amazed when I relate with people on a daily basis and they're like, no, she did it intentionally. She's just been wicked. She's just been unreasonable. Excuse me. Sometimes I wonder whether there's a school, a class where people study mind readership. How do people read the mind of people and come to the conclusions insistently that that partner intentionally wanted to mess with them? I don't get that. I don't get that. Listen, a mistake is not intentional. If it is intentional, then it's not a mistake. It's a wrongdoing, and it has to be approached differently. It is the reason why I have a problem when we flog a child for being a child. It doesn't make sense. If that's a child, the child will act like a child. You don't flog a child for being a child. It's normal that when children meet a heap of sand, they will play in the sand. There is even a probability that they will start throwing up the sand. And if you run into a child like that, you don't flog the child for playing in the sand. You don't flog a child for throwing up the sand, except if you've told the child what to do before, you've warned the child what to do before, and you can establish that that's an act of disobedience. Otherwise, you don't flog a child for being a child. What you can do, instead of just telling a child, don't do this, don't play in the sand, which is not likely going to work. What you should tell the child should be probably, you don't throw up sands, you play in the sand. Don't throw up sands, play in the sand. So instead of telling them what not to do, it's better to tell them what to do. Being positive in your teaching, in your lessons, is better than just attempting to correct. Show them what to do, not just what not to do. If you stop at telling people what not to do, you're creating laws. You are not providing a platform for them to deploy their energy. And for crying out loud, they got some energy, they eat every day, they're going to use that energy. So if you just tell them what not to do without showing them what to do, then they're going to do it. So you don't flog a child for being a child. Just the same way, you can't just flog, reprimand. You can't just discipline people for making a mistake. What you do is to throw light. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe of blessed memory said, shine the light, the people will find their way. So what you ought to do is to show light. Oh, I was here, you didn't see me. Next time when you want to pour, throw water, check well, look out there properly, make sure there's nobody. Look to the left, look to the right, and then look to the left again before you pour the water. You provide direction, you provide light. So it's so important that we understand what a mistake is. So a mistake is when you understand something or somebody incorrectly. So it's not intentional. A mistake is to make a wrong judgment about something. So it's not intentional. A mistake is done based on insufficient truth, not enough access to relevant information, limitation in knowledge, in exposure, in experience, in education, in enlightenment. Mistakes are because that's the best the person knows. It's a mistake. A mistake is to identify someone or something incorrectly. It's a mistake. A mistake is when you confuse one thing with another thing. So it's okay if somebody makes a mistake to correct them. You correct their mistakes by providing better light, providing instruction, providing direction, and demanding that there should be a change in behavior. Because the only proof that learning has taken place is when there is a change in behavior. So when people make mistakes, you can reprimand them and expect that they will correct the mistakes, because that's the reason they have better light now. And that will be fine. But I'm saying you cannot deal the same way with a weakness. Now, what is a weakness? A weakness is a quality. A weakness is a condition. A weakness is a way of life. A weakness is a state of being of an individual. And it is usually defective in nature. Underline the word nature. It's usually defective in nature. If you understand the import of the statement nature, you will understand how ingrained in a life a weakness can be, how ingrained in their nature a weakness is. So it's a quality, a condition, it's a way of life, a state of being, a condition. This is heavy. This is serious. And for goodness sake, if something is a defective nature, you can't shout it out. You can't scream it out. You can't flog it out. You can't starve it out. You can't deprive people of stuff because they're manifesting weaknesses, and because it's a constant. You can't do that. It means you don't understand the gravity of a weakness. You don't understand it. A weakness is a quality. It's a feature. It prevents someone or something from being effective or useful. It prevents. If it prevents, it has energy. If it prevents, it has power. And oftentimes, its power is overriding. It's way ahead of the strength of the person that it has overpowered. That's what a weakness is. Listen, when you understand a weakness, becoming empathetic is just a natural flow, a natural consequence, a natural, just organically, you just become empathetic. Once you understand the weakness, the concept of a weakness, you will become empathetic with the partner. A weakness is something that you like so much that you are often unable to resist it. Underline the word. You are often unable to resist it. It's the reason against their argument, I tell them homosexuality is a weakness. You like it so much, you are often unable, incapacitated, neutralized, easily beset. You can't withstand it. I tell them lesbianism is a weakness, homosexuality is a weakness. The entire catalog of what it is in the gay community, all weaknesses. Because if it's not a weakness, the proof that it's not a weakness is in your ability to wake up tomorrow morning and say, I'm not doing this no more. I can't do this no more. If you can't stop it, it's a weakness. If you can't stop it, it's an addiction. So when people are dealing with drugs, they're dealing with masturbation, they're dealing with pornography, they're dealing with infidelity, they're dealing with all kinds of people that womanize weaknesses. They're overwhelmed. Once they see a woman, they are paralyzed, they're incapacitated, they become dysfunctional. Their entire brain shuts down until they've slept with that woman. It's a weakness. No, it's a weakness. Some people have a weakness for smoking. Other people have a weakness for procrastination. Some people have a weakness for stage fright. Some people
have weakness for insecurity. And the problem with insecurity is that it's a broad term. What engenders insecurity for people are different with different people. Some people become insecure once they have financial issues. Some people become insecure over too many things. These are profound things. Some people have a weakness for stage fright. Once they are on the stage, their body begins to vibrate helplessly. They are miserable. They don't know what to do. And you can't flog that out of a child, for crying out loud. You can't do that. And so it's so important that we understand the enormity of a weakness. Sometimes weaknesses pre-exist the individual. That is, they were born with the weakness. They are so helpless. Sometimes it has been developed over a period of time due to the environment they grew up in due to exposure. Sometimes it's just there. Oftentimes, weaknesses are die-hard in nature. People are so helpless. I tell people as I take them through therapy with behavior and behavioral change requirements, I tell people you don't expect to develop an addiction, an attitude, a lifestyle in 10 years and expect to deal and overcome it in 10 hours. It's not realistic. You took time through practice. The Bible talks about people whose faculties have been developed through practice. You've been practicing something for 10 years and you think that in 10 hours you can undo them? You think that in 10 days you can undo them? It's not always like that until the supernatural comes into the right thing. It is the reason, listen, when you understand the intensity of a weakness, it is the reason I tell people that the right thing to do when you are in a dating relationship is to engage intensively in partner weakness identification. This is so profound. It has to take place. It has to take place so that you can decide, okay, this is the weakness that my partner, intended partner, is dealing with. Can I live with this weakness forever? Because there is no guarantee that this weakness is going to change. There's no guarantee that this weakness is going to change. Can I live with it forever? Or if I can't live with it forever, it's okay. There's no problem with that. You let them go. They will find somebody that can live with that can love them in spite of that. If you can, then you also go. You will also find someone you will be able to fit into their weaknesses, because the truth is, even the person you are going to will have weaknesses in other areas, which probably you'll be able to deal with. But to think that you're leaving this one to go to that one because you think that one is not going to have any weakness, you're living in the world of fantasy. So that person is going to have their own kind of weakness, and you have to be sure you can make do with that kind of weakness. So if you can live with it, fine, you keep up with the relationship, but you need some of the skills that I'm going to be teaching in the course of all them series on partner weakness management to be able to live harmoniously with them and enjoy the relationship. But if you can't do that, you can't live with them, you let them go. Alternatively, even if you don't have the skill sets you want to, the third thing you can do is to expose them to therapy. You have to outsource training for them to be able to deal with what it is they're dealing with, while you cooperate with them when they come back home, to create an environment and a platform that makes change, learning and change, learning, unlearning and relearning possible for them. Your contribution is going to be critical all of the times. This is so profound, where you're able to position yourself strategically until they outgrow the weakness. What I just said now, you don't want to mess with it, because it is the reason why some people are literally angels when they get married to us. They're literally angels. We said they were amazing when we took them to the altar, when we presented them for marriage. And now we say they are worse than Lucifer. Why? It is because of the lack of skill set for managing our partner's weakness. It is always handling, the way we have gone about handling our partners, that have messed things up. This is so profound. Now, I'll quickly look at misdeeds or wrongdoings. Wrongdoings are different from mistakes. Wrongdoings are different from weaknesses. Of course, a mistake can graduate into a wrongdoing. For example, yes, you poured that water, you didn't look, you didn't notice that there's somebody there. So you didn't know somebody was there, you poured the water. Let's assume that water is hot, water at boiling point, you poured the water. Even if it's a mistake, the damage you've caused on the person has graduated it into a wrongdoing. And you gotta answer questions for that. Correcting you want is not gonna fix it. When you enter into the realm of wrongdoings, the person who did wrong must show remorse. They must show that they accept that they are wrong. But beyond that, there is an extent of damage that is involved that may require you to become answerable to the state. You might have to go to court. You might have to go to the police. You might have to be in prison. Your life could even go for it. That's the gravity of a wrongdoing. So if a weakness leads you into a wrongdoing, you got to pay for it. If a mistake leads you into a wrongdoing, you got to pay for it. But the key thing here is that a misdeed, a wrongdoing, is something that is morally wrong. It's an illegal act. It could be a breach, it could be a crime. It is law breaking, it's an offense, it's a misdoing, it's a sin, a transgression, a trespass. It's a violation, it's a wrongdoing. So there is a sense in which there's where you place infidelity, for example, and it becomes a mistake. That's why you place infidelity and it becomes wrongdoing. That's why you place infidelity and it becomes a weakness. But when infidelity graduates into a wrongdoing, you probably are going to answer for something. Because let's say your infidelity leads you and then you go to get involved with somebody else's wife, then you might not like what is going to come out of it. This is so profound. So there is a sense in which adultery and other moral failures cannot be a mistake. They could be products of a weakness, but they cannot be a mistake. Just like I said, a mistake can graduate into a wrongdoing, but they have passed the level of just being a mistake because they have become a mistake or a weakness taken too far. And the offender owes the offended remorse. He owes them an appropriate apology, and they might have to go to answer to security institutions because you have exceeded some certain boundaries. This is so important. So having established what a weakness is, having established what a wrongdoing is, having established what a mistake is, if you have clarified that what your partner is dealing with is a weakness, then it's not an act of error. It's not an act of omission. It's a weakness. So from that point when you have clarified that what your partner is dealing with is a weakness, it is from that point that your approach must be decided. It has to be different from the way you approach a mistake or a wrongdoing. It can't be the same. No, it cannot be the same. Listen, you can correct a partner who has made a mistake, but you can't do that for a weakness. You can correct a partner who has made a mistake. Number one, a mistake is subject to correction and is expected not to reoccur as soon as learning light has been shed. You don't expect a mistake to repeat itself because this person is now aware, is now informed as to what is obtainable or what is acceptable. So you don't expect a mistake to reoccur. But excuse me, when it comes to a weakness, you ought to expect a weakness to reoccur, no matter how you look at it, no matter what you try to do, no matter how much you shout, how much you scream, how much you cry foul, go to everywhere, call the police, tell your pastor, call your lawyer, call your doctor, tell the family, tell the children, tell everybody. Do what you like to do to correct them. A weakness will reoccur. You better expect it. and begin to position yourself in such a way that your actions and reactions and responses are programmed to help the situation. Because if you don't program in that way, you're going to complicate things, and that person who was negative, bad to a third degree, can become bad to a seventh degree because you don't know how to manage it. Imagine you continuously making reference to your partner's weaknesses. What would that amount to? It amounts to nagging. And what will nagging do? As soon as you engage the path of nagging, what you're going to get is simple. When you nag, you're going to create an emotional gap. And once you create an emotional gap, it's going to lead to a physical gap. Because as you keep nagging, keep talking, keep emphasizing their weaknesses, you're going to shut them down emotionally. Once they're shut down emotionally, they're going to avoid you. That's what anybody will do. Avoid somebody who talks down on you. Avoid somebody who cannot celebrate you. Avoid somebody who cannot make your burden easier, make your challenges easier to deal with. You avoid them. And as soon as that gap is created, trust me, you are losing the relationship, you are losing the partner, you are losing everything you've invested in. And I'm not sure that's the best way to go. Therefore, to think that correcting a weakness will eliminate it means that you do not understand the gravity, the import, the full weight, and the implication of a weakness. This is so profound. Haven't come to this point where we've agreed that correcting nagging is not going to eliminate a weakness. The question will be, what should we then do? The first thing to do is to accept the reality of what you are face to face with. Number one, accept the reality of the weakness. Accept the reality of who your partner is. Accept them for who they are. And the only way you prove that you have accepted somebody is that you celebrate them. You don't tolerate them. You celebrate them. Everybody will avoid those who tolerate them. Everybody will avoid those who don't celebrate them. Everybody will have, when you tolerate people, they know it will show. By the way you treat them, by the way you respond to them, by the way you acknowledge them publicly, by the way your everything will show that you have not accepted them. If you have not accepted them, it means you've rejected them. If you've rejected them, they'll defend themselves, they'll fight for themselves, they will react. They'll function in ways and manners that will also mess you up and mess up the entire relationship. You don't want to do that. But when you truly accept a person, and you can't accept the person until you come to terms with the reality of the weakness and how helpless, how defeated, how battered life has dealt with them, the kind of lemons that life has thrown at them. When you come to realize it, it will automatically translate into empathy. Automatically. And empathy will lead you to begin to think about supporting them. What can I do to help this person? And as you begin to support them, it will automatically lead. It's an organic progression. It will lead to patience. You have this incredible, inexplainable kind of patience for their idiosyncrasies because you know it's coming. You saw it coming. You're going to see that this thing is coming, and you're going to begin to position yourself strategically to be of incredible benefit to them instead of becoming the reason why they're not able to deal with it. And then as soon as acceptance leads to empathy, empathy leads to support, support leads to patience, the next thing you want to think of is, do they need therapy? Don't you think they need outsourcing of therapy? Because most of us partners do not have the requisite skill and the patience to train, to guide, to direct, to lead one another, and then be able to wait for the process of unlearning, then learning, then relearning. We're not able to do all that. And the reason we're not able to do all that is because we're yet to accept who they are. And apart from the fact that we don't have the skill set. So we might have to discuss and then begin to outsource therapy. What therapy will do is provide training. Training will provide the exposure that they need. Training is so powerful. point-by-point steps that will make a difference, and then the therapy will provide a practice. Give them assignments, give them exercises that will lead to practice, because addictions, weaknesses stem either from birth or by something you kept doing over a period of time. Practice over a period of time leads to the weakness. So the only way out of the weakness is another set of practice that will walk you out of the weakness. It's not you can't develop a lifestyle in 10 years and want to think that you can knock it off in 10 days, except the supernatural comes into play. So you might have to go through processes. The Bible talks about those who have trained their faculties through practice to differentiate between good and bad. Faculties trained through practice. So there will be practice that will lead to overpowering weaknesses. And it's profound. It's amazing. And so in our next session, we're going to look at these 7 areas, one after the other. More detailed: acceptance, empathy, support, patience, training, exposure, and practice. I look forward to having you during that section. Questions are allowed, comments are welcome, and then trust me, we can always provide help if you need one. I'll see you again.